Oh, hey, if you're still watching the other video, don't worry. It's almost over. It's premiering. We'll get people on here, and then I'm going to talk some live Q&A. Definitely ask your questions in the chat. I'll be glad to answer those. My other video is just finishing up right now, and it's showing me um, putting on that headband. So we'll see. We'll get some more people in here once that video ends. Oh, it's early morning here in Florida. Didn't even check my eyes to see how they are. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me. My other video, the one I debuted this morning about can I sew an elastic headband in just 10 minutes, which of course, spoiler alert, I was able to do. And you could do it even faster if you assembly lined them. That video is just ending over on my channel. And then we'll have people come over here for the Q&A. So ask any questions in the Q&A. Kathy, thank you so much. I do look thin. I have lost a bit of weight on purpose and through diet, exercise, and just healthy, clean living, right? Hey, Margaret, thanks for joining me from Greensboro, North Carolina. I love it. Thank you so much. So let's see. I'm answering a thing on the other video. Let's see if people come over from the Q&A. All right, so we'll see if they come over to the Q&A. Let's see. Yes, Kathy, you said I look so thin. Thank you so much. Actually, I'm a little puffy this morning, but I did actually lose quite a bit of weight, mostly because I needed to change some issues in my diet to fix things that were affecting me now that I'm approaching 50. And so, I've lost some weight. I'm in a corner of my house. Like normally I would show you the view out the back window, but it's very rainy today and it'll be quite dark. So not looking forward to that. Mizette from New Jersey, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. The other thing is that, oh, my cat's coming. Can we see her? Hold on, come here, say hi. Hello. That's Sophia. That is Sophia. Let's see. Thank you for saying I look great. I also have changed my glasses. I'm wearing contacts now, mostly because I do a lot of video stuff now, and glasses are really hard to keep the glare off. So when I'm talking to people, either through Zoom or in my podcast video stuff, I want to make sure that I can be seen and chatting with people. So I was talking on the other video, and I know Cher Bear wants to know about this and a few other people. I will be in Buffalo and Rochester, June 16th through the 20th. And I am going there because last July, I went to Rochester, New York, Buffalo and New York and Rochester, New York, just for people maybe who don't know where those things are. I was in Rochester, New York, because my dear friend Kim Bixler grew up in a Frank Lloyd Wright house in Rochester, New York. Frank Lloyd Wright, world famous architect, born in 1867, died 1959, but he designed over 1,000 buildings. More than 500 of them were built in the United States, and most of them are houses. So he's very famous for that. In fact, there's like 70 different places around the country, and in fact, also in Japan, where you can visit Wright works that have been built, and they actually tour them. Buffalo is huge for that. There's an enormous Frank Lloyd Wright set of buildings there, not just the Martin House complex, but several others. So I'm going, I went last July because she put on a symposium near the house that she grew up in, and we went, and I was one of the speakers, and it was magnificent. I knocked it out of the park. I'm very good at speaking about Frank Lloyd Wright. I've been doing that for over a decade now, and I've given hundreds and hundreds of talks, and it's a lot of fun. So I like to tell his life story and his story of his work in a very entertaining way. And I did that for a couple of other libraries while I was there. Kathy, yes. Wisconsin, Frank Lloyd Wright does have a house in Wisconsin, but House on the Rock is not his house. House on the Rock was built by a man named Mr. Jordan, who Frank Lloyd Wright did not like at all. So it's funny that people think that House on the Rock is a Frank Lloyd Wright house. It's not. It is about 10 minutes from his house, Taliesin, which is Frank Lloyd Wright's house. But, I'm telling you, if you were going to go to Taliesin, you have to go visit House on the Rock because it's such an odd roadside attraction. If you're going to visit House on the Rock, you should go to Taliesin because it's an amazing architectural feat. So fantastic. So I was there and gave some talks at libraries in Buffalo. I'm sorry, not in Buffalo, in Rochester last year. And in fact, all of the libraries were like, you have to come back, which is the greatest compliment you can give to somebody who performs or gives a talk. Or I don't do lectures. Lectures, people tend to fall asleep. So I don't do those. And so they really asked me to come back. So even my friend Kim isn't going back because she's got other things going on. She's writing musicals, hopefully to get to Broadway. Her current musical is called Barba, Brazilian percussion, body percussion musical. And it's amazing. And it's going to be in Costa Rica soon, and I think in Brazil, and it's been off Broadway as well. So it's amazing. So anyway, I will be back in, let me go over Rochester and then I'll answer your question, Donna. And I will be back in Buffalo and Rochester, June 16th through the 20th. I'm going to be at the, see if I can find it. On the 16th at 6 p.m., I'll be at the West Seneca Public Library in Buffalo, giving a talk on the genius of Frank Lloyd Wright. That's my big intro talk about him. On the 17th, I'll be back in Rochester area at the Eggertsville Snyder Library, giving a talk called Frank Lloyd Wright Goes to Hollywood, which is about his efforts to make it in Hollywood, which, spoiler alert, he never quite did. But he tried again and again and again. That's at 10:30 in the morning on the 17th. On the 17th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I will be at the Winton branch of the Rochester Public Library talking about Frank Lloyd Wright's Falling Water, which is his most famous house, of course. At 6 p.m., I'll be at the Genesee Valley Club, which is a private membership club, to give a talk about the genius of Frank Lloyd Wright. That'll be at 6 p.m. on the 17th. On the 18th, I have two talks, one in Parma, at the Parma Public Library in Hilton, and that's at 2 p.m. At 6 p.m., I'll be at the Fairport Public Library in Fairport. These are all around Rochester. On the 19th, I'll be at the Greece Public Library at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And then on the 20th, I will be at the Clarence Public Library, Clarence, which is a Buffalo suburb, and that'll be at 11 a.m. So I have a huge pile of those to do. Let's see. Donna, well, June 16th, Donna, if you're in Wisconsin, it's not going to matter because I'll be in Buffalo. So that's, and none of these will be online or anything like that. So you just have to go in person to these libraries or to the club. If you're a member of the Genesee Valley Club, come along. That's in Rochester, New York. Let's see, Donna, when are you coming back to Wisconsin? Well, we just returned from a month in Wisconsin. Hi, Norma. Thank you for joining me. We just returned from a month in Wisconsin. We did that from mid-April to mid-April to mid-May, which was lovely. We got back to Florida just in time for 95-degree weather. That was not very fun. And we're already planning next year how long we're going to go for. I expect that we'll be in Madison for 2 months next year, probably April, May, June, that type of time frame. And we really, really, really loved it. Yes, Donna, thank you so much. I do have that written down, the Sparta Elroy Bike Trail. I did write that down. We'll see what I have time for. I'm going to be pretty busy. I'm flying in on the 16th and have a talk. And then the 17th and 18th, I'm very busy. And then the 19th, I had several libraries lined up. But interestingly enough, most of them forgot that it's a federal holiday, Juneteenth, which celebrates the holiday celebrating emancipation for slaves in the Civil War. You can read the history of that. It's a fascinating holiday and very interesting. And so public libraries closed for that. So one library is open, but other libraries have said they're closed. So I had 3 libraries lined up for that day, which was going to be great. And unfortunately, it canceled. They canceled. 2 of them canceled. So I have 1 library still the 19th. And then on the 20th, I'm flying out in the evening, but I'm going to be back in Buffalo. So since I'm only giving 1 talk at 11 o'clock in the morning, I'm probably going to hit Frank Lloyd Wright's Buffalo houses, the Martin House Complex. I haven't been there in a couple of years, and they finished a couple projects since the last time I was there. I mean, they did spend like $53 million. So it's worth it to go visit again. Let's see. Mary, do you ever come to Destin, Florida? I'm sure I've been to Destin, Florida at some point. I am expanding my talks in Florida to libraries and clubs and universities and that kind of thing. So if a library reached out to me and was willing to pay my travel to get there, I would certainly come. I don't do my talks about Frank Lloyd Wright, my favorite architect, necessarily to make a large amount of money. But it is nice to be paid to travel so that I can go visit places. And I do have a limited amount of time to do things. So if somebody wants me to come, I like to make sure that it's actually somewhat worthwhile. I don't charge libraries a lot because they don't really have a lot of money. So it's not a lot of money that I usually charge to get there. And the other part is how far away is it? Like it's kind of crazy sometimes to be super far away and drive for hours to get somewhere. So if I'm in the area, I'll definitely stop. But like Destin is almost 6 hours away from me. So I would have to be going somewhere. Now, my partner Brad is from Panama City Beach, originally, that area. So we do occasionally go up there to visit his family or to just go relax on the beach. So I'd be able to add it if I was going to Panama City, but otherwise driving 5 to 6 hours just to give a single talk. Kathy, I didn't know you came to Wisconsin. You live in Milwaukee. You've watched my videos for a long time. Well, that is awesome. You know what? I really enjoy Milwaukee. I didn't get over there this time I was visiting. I gave talks in Oshkosh and Lake Geneva and a couple of other places, as well as in near the Madison area. And but none of the libraries in Milwaukee bit on me coming in to give them a talk. So I'm going to push them next year when I'm on my way back there because I really like Milwaukee. And there's some Frank Lloyd Wright buildings in Milwaukee. What I would love, Kathy, is some suggestions of where to go for quilt stores or fabric stores because, well, first of all, Joann's is gone, but also because I did a video last year from my friend Corey, who owned a shop I can't remember where it was, in Wisconsin, between Milwaukee and Madison. There was a place in there. He owned a shop, and I went and did a video with him, and it did pretty well, actually. I had a lot of views on that video. I don't really count my videos that way. I don't look at, oh gosh, how many views did I get necessarily. For me, it's not a decision maker whether it was a successful video or not, but it is nice to know that people tune in and watch. Well, we did a video, but I went to go see him back again this year, and he had taken a job with one of the fabric lines that he repped that he really loved, and they offered him a full-time job being a rep. And he was like, well, this is actually, his store was okay, but this job paid him a little more. It paid him better, and it had, stability and benefits and other stuff, I think. So he's taken that job, and I didn't get to connect with him. But I would love some suggestions of shops or places that you like to go. I always like to highlight and feature those. Now, listen, on my way to Oshkosh, I did stop in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, which any of you who've watched videos about sewing and crafting or used to watch PBS shows or anything probably remember Nancy Zeman from Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, doing her Sewing with Nancy videos. I literally grew up with that TV show, learning to sew. And so Nancy passed away, I think, in 2017. But her studio is still there, and her sewing store is still there, and they still make videos and do everything else. So I stopped into the store. I had hoped to be able to do an interview at the store, but the schedules just didn't align properly. So unfortunately, I didn't get to stop to actually do a video, but I did get to go in the store, which was pretty awesome being able to do. So Kathy suggests Manhattan Textiles in Wauwatosa. I love it. Wauwatosa, actually, I love these dumb things that I just know. There's a very famous Frank Lloyd Wright building there, a Greek Orthodox church, Annunciation Greek Orthodox church, and it looks like it's just landed from another planet. It is a super late work in the late 1950s. And it looks like a spaceship. It's pretty cool. So I have been there a number of times. In fact, I once sat through an entire Greek Orthodox service because I wanted to see the chapel in use. And at the end of hour number 2, someone came over to me and said, you don't have to stay here the whole time. You're welcome to leave. whenever you want. They could tell I was not Greek Orthodox and I did not know what was going on, but I wanted to be respectful and I wanted to see how they used the building. So I did at a lull. They kind of told me when I could lull and get out of there. So I did actually do that after about 2.5 hours. Margaret, you don't walk into your quilting room without thinking of Nancy Zeman. I got to tell you, Nancy and Eleanor Burns, Nancy Zeman and Eleanor Burns are probably, other than my grandmothers, they're my two biggest sewing influences. And what I really love about that is that Nancy sort of taught me how to be very, very particular and careful and reasonable and calm and, methodical. And then Eleanor Burns taught me just how to have fun and go for it and how you can, do things fast and quick. And I loved her Quilt in a Day shows all the time. Brat 46, I didn't realize that Michigan had 10 Frank Lloyd Wright design houses. Absolutely. There's quite a lot there. And I don't know if I've ever said it on this channel, but my grandmother, who is 92, Patricia, is 92, amazing, still going strong, sewing constantly. She's sending me 5 of her sewing machines so that the guy who handles all of our sewing machines for our business, he comes and works on like 10 sewing machines at a time. Every month he comes and services 10 sewing machines. Well, she wants him to look at hers and figure out, and she wants to save the metal singers from the past. And anyway, she's like, I have to have them because I'm doing so much sewing. And I'm like, you're 92. You could slow down if you want, but she won't. She makes every costume for the Easter productions and the Christmas productions at church and makes stuff for all kinds of people. She's just all over the place. So if you ever wonder why I'm so busy, it's because I'm trying to keep up with my grandmother. Well, she is from Michigan. Her last name, her maiden name is Van Westrinen. So come on, Michigan Dutch right there in the Big Rapids, Grand Rapids area. I have family there. I go visit all the time. And I love Michigan at the right time of year. Just like I love Wisconsin at the right time of year. So yeah, the Frank Lloyd Wright houses, there's a number of them. And a good friend of mine, Molly, grew up in a Frank Lloyd Wright house in Michigan, in I think Galesburg or near Kalamazoo. And her parents built their house. They built the house designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, and she grew up in it. And it's lovely. I get to chat with her about that. And one day I hope to go visit the house that her family built. So yeah, there's quite a lot. In fact, there's Frank Lloyd Wright houses in so many places. I didn't really mean to make this Q&A about Frank Lloyd Wright. I would love to hear anything else you want to talk about, but I can just, of course, keep talking. Let's see, Rachel. It's 3:20 in the afternoon in the UK. Absolutely. I've been watching some French Open tennis today. Not that it has anything to do with the UK, but it's a similar time zone area. So I love sort of figuring out what the time zone change is. So it's nice. I wake up early in the morning and I can watch tennis already. So you're in the UK. I hope everything is going well. Of course, it doesn't matter if you haven't heard of Frank Lloyd Wright's work before. He is an almost exclusively American architect. He did a little work in Canada, but that's North America. Most of it's gone. I think all of it's been demolished in Canada, mostly because it was like camps or hotels, things that don't last long unless somebody really tries to keep track of them. And then he did a number of projects in Japan, like 14 projects that he worked on. And I think 6 or 7 of them were actually built, including the Imperial Hotel. So amazing place. I hope to get to Japan at some point. I have a number of things on my bucket list for Japan, specifically Frank Lloyd Wright's, the remaining portion of his Imperial Hotel, which he designed in 1915 or so, and it was built by 1923. It was ready to opening day, September, I think 1st, 1923. 2 minutes before it was set to open with a big luncheon, the Great Kanto earthquake hit, over 8 on the Richter scale, killing over 100,000 people and destroying most buildings, many, many buildings. Not the Imperial Hotel. It lasted really well, and it gave him a name in Japan. He'd also done a number of other projects. The Imperial Hotel was demolished to make way for a bigger Imperial Hotel, which hilariously now has since been demolished to make way for another Imperial Hotel that's being built now. So the 4th one is on its way up. His was a replacement for the first. So fascinating. It's a great question, Kathy. I'm going to answer that in just a second. He built his hotel, but they did move the lobby section to a sort of theme park, sort of a a themed architectural park about 4 hours, I think about 4 hours outside of Tokyo. So I'm hoping to go to Japan in the next couple of years to go see the Imperial Hotel, to see the girls' school that he designed, the guest house that he designed, not a guest house for people to live in, but for people to have meetings and stuff, like a tea house kind of a thing, and to see the Imperial Hotel. I also want to go see all the Tokyo Disney stuff there. Brad and I both like Disney, and Tokyo Disney Sea is meant to be the coolest Disney theme park in the world, apparently, according to everyone I ever known who ever went there. So Kathy wants to know, let's get back to crafting and sewing. Do you think there will get another store like Joann's? Okay, so to be, just to think about this in a way, I don't think it's possible because, well, it's not possible. I think it's highly unlikely because so much of any buying anything has gone online, right? Like, it's gone to the internet. And fabric, as much as we like the idea of going and touching and looking at fabric and whatever else, a lot of fabric is just a commodity. In other words, if you like this line of fabric from this designer and you see it in the store, you don't have to buy it there. You can literally decide, you can literally just decide that, okay, well, I like this line of fabric, but this person online sells it for $1 a yard cheaper. So one of the problems I see in places like Best Buy or any of those type of stores is that they sell commodities. So like Best Buy sells electronic commodities. They're the same whether you buy them online for somebody for $100 or you buy them at Best Buy for $110. So think about the overhead for a company like Best Buy to have this store there. They've got all this overhead to have a building for you to come in and look at this stuff. And it's not going to be any different than the thing you buy elsewhere. So I think more likely we're going to see stores that we already have that curate fabric, meaning quilt stores, where they say, hey, we carry these lines of fabric. We know this is good. We can tell you about how to make it. We can service your sewing machine. We can do all of that. The other problem for I see for Joann, and what caused the downfall, was that they became this super discount store. Nobody bought anything at full price. And if they did, it's because they desperately had to have it and didn't have a coupon. Why else would you do it? I do understand the idea that maybe somebody like Michaels might plan to start selling more fabric, but Michaels was always a craft store, not necessarily a fabric store. And the problem is, fabric for crafts is different than fabric for clothing. To me, the biggest problem, the biggest negative of Joann's leaving is the very fact that you're going to have to, being able to buy fabric to make clothing from is next to impossible now, unless you take a pilgrimage to New York City and go to the garment district or the textile district. The other real problem, seriously, is there's such good stuff available online for Halloween costumes, for like fast fashion, Shein or Shine or whatever it's called, Temu, all those places. You can buy anything you want fashion-wise for like $6. I mean, maybe that's not accurate, but it's pretty crazy how. And so those stores have made it to where even if you did decide to go make something yourself, you'd be spending 5 times the amount. So there's not an incentive for anybody to put up a store for the few people that are sewing clothes. I mean, that's just the way it goes. So there already exist stores that sell crafting, quilting fabric. We're talking about Walmart has a decent selection. It's not, I shouldn't say decent, but they have a selection. And they do some minimal apparel fabric, mostly for like costumey type of stuff. Then you have stores like Michaels, which has a little bit. You have Hobby Lobby. Hobby Lobby is a little problematic for a couple of reasons. Mostly, it's also a discount store. Like, I wouldn't go into Hobby Lobby. If I had to go into Hobby Lobby to buy something, I wouldn't go in to buy without a coupon, or unless it was on sale, right? So the Hobby Lobby also has an issue that many people have philosophical issues with Hobby Lobby based upon the way that they've taken cases to the Supreme Court, specifically about whether or not they should be required to provide their employees with healthcare coverage that includes contraceptives. They took that all the way to the Supreme Court, and a few other issues. So, if you have an issue with that, with a company like that, then you're not going to go into Hobby Lobby. It's just off your list. I also I don't have just a philosophical issue with Hobby Lobby. I just don't like the store. It's full of cheap stuff that feels like my house will look like everybody else's house if I go in there and buy the same sign everybody else has. And some of their fabric is kind of cheap. I mean, it's not bad, but I haven't gone there in at least a year. So let's see. Michael's is selling fabric now. That's good to know. I mean, they need to sell more, I think. And again, Kathy, I love that you like Hobby Lobby. If it works for you, that is great. That's fantastic. You know what else I don't get about Hobby Lobby? For the longest time, the last time I was in there, they don't use barcodes. I don't know how they keep track of any inventory. I don't get it. Like they don't even like enter stuff into the computer. It's very weird. It feels like 1970s or 1960s all over again. So Hobby Lobby to me isn't the choice for everyone. Some people will love it and will go. Other people not going to go. The other part is if you're anywhere near Rochester, I think Cher Bear, you said you live in the Buffalo area. You can go over to what's it called? So Green, I did a video on it. It's a fabric thrift store in Rochester. Totally cool. And lots of people are emptying out their stashes to take fabric there. So lots of options there. That was totally cool. You did ask me earlier. I actually, it's so funny. So I tend to try to go as cheap as possible when I'm traveling for business because I want to make sure I make money doing it, And so I booked because I want a direct flight and I want an easier airport. I booked out of Sanford, Orlando on Allegiant Air. Now I don't know who you fly for, Share Bear. So it could be Allegiant or someone else. So I booked and it's great. It's a one-way ticket. I spent less than $200 for a round trip ticket. Sorry, each way. It's weird times that it goes, but it's fine. I won't get home till 11:30 at night, but it'll work out fine. But I went to book a car and I was going to book a Turo because that's cheaper typically. And that's like an Airbnb for cars. Like people put their individual cars on this website called Turo, and then you deal directly with them and you rent your car from them. It's typically cheaper than rental car companies. And renting a car for 5 days in Western New York apparently is gold for these car companies because holy cow, the average was like $700 for 5 days. So I did. I found a Turo for like $300, but then I was going to have to take an Uber 40 minutes each way just to get to the car, which 30 minutes. It would have been like $50 each. And it's like, I'm adding $100 when I can just rent a $400 car right from the airport. So I did that. I booked a car from the airport, from the Buffalo Niagara International Airport. Then I decided to see if I could maybe get an earlier flight on Allegiant, which they don't have one. They only have one flight leaving. They don't fly out of the Buffalo Niagara International Airport. They fly out of Niagara Airport, which is very confusing to have two airports with very similar names. And they fly out of the Niagara Airport 20 miles away from the Buffalo Niagara. So there's no way I'm getting my car from the Buffalo Niagara Airport. I'd have to take an Uber 20 miles. So that was crazy. There is a bus that takes an hour. So I was able to call the car company and actually cancel the car, even though they said it was non-refundable. They were nice. They canceled it. And I was able to, I also called with 2 hours after I made the initial appointment. And then I did book a car out of the Niagara Airport, which is north of Buffalo in Niagara Falls. So I guess I'll be close to Niagara Falls. Maybe I should go over and look at the falls. It's been years, I think, since I actually did that. It's weird. I don't know if anybody, okay. So years ago, I went to, I love how meandering these Q&As are, by the way. I was going to go to Vegas for a funeral convention like 15 years ago. And my sister was in the middle of her sabbatical year from medical school. And it turns out that we could meet in Phoenix. So we met in Phoenix in August, which by the way, is the worst time to go to Phoenix. Don't do it if you can help it. It was 187 degrees, or at least that's what it felt like. So I walked out of the airport and it was like a blast furnace to hit me. So we were there, we met there. We went to Frank Lloyd Wright's house in Scottsdale called Taliesin West. It's the house he built for himself and his fellowship of apprentices and students. It was amazing and wonderful. We went kayaking down a river, which was the only way to get away from any of the heat. It was still hot as all blazes, but we did that. And then we were driving to Vegas for my convention, and she was flying out of Vegas. So we said, we'll drive to the Grand Canyon on the way. Cat, stop doing that. My cat is scratching my furniture. Okay. So we did that. First of all, it dropped 50 degrees on the way to the Grand Canyon, or at least 40 something. And we got to the Grand Canyon, which was amazing. By the way, if you've never been to the Grand Canyon, you should go. You should plan things to do. We didn't plan things to do. We were just going to stop at a few spots. So we stopped at the first spot and we looked around, and it was amazing. And after about 10 minutes, I said, hey, do you want to go to the next stop? So we went to the next stop. We went to 3 stops along the way to look. And finally, the last one, I said, how long do we have to stand here? Because this is interesting, but I don't know what else I'm supposed to get out of this. So we spent 30 minutes at the Grand Canyon. I had more than enough. I have a feeling that Niagara Falls is going to be the same way unless I plan to take a boat or something. And I have been to Niagara Falls years ago when I was younger with family or something, but, and we'll see if I want to go. I'm just going by myself on this trip, so who knows how exciting that's going to be. We'll see. If there's anything amazing I should do in Buffalo or even in Rochester, I would love people tell me. I would love to hear that feedback. So if you've got some great things that I should do, let's do it. Or if we want to, if anyone in that area thinks let's meet up and go raid a fabric store on the 19th or the 20th, let me know. Interesting, Margaret, just heard a travel hint on YouTube from the airport. Take a hotel shuttle to a hotel and get your Uber or rental car from there. It avoids the airport surcharges on rentals. That's interesting. And in the right city where they would have a rental at the airport or at a hotel, that would make a lot of sense. One of the things about Turo is when you do book a Turo, most people near an airport have an airport delivery fee, which is not a bad problem if you can get a good price. And I've done a lot of Turos. I think I've done 30. I think I've rented 30 cars on Turo. One of the problems with this trip, why I shied away from a Turo, is even though it was $100 cheaper than renting a rental car, it was from a Turo host who only has 2 cars. And I was really concerned if something went wrong with one of them and the other one was booked already, that he wouldn't have a car for me to drive. And I have to be, I literally fly in at 2:00 in the afternoon and I have a talk at 6 p.m. Only 20 minutes away, but I have to be able to make sure I get to it. So I'm already taking a little bit of a risk with flying in the same day and then having to go to a talk. But hopefully it all works well. So we'll see. Let's see. Maid of the Mist is so much fun. I'm assuming that has to do with the falls. So we'll see. I haven't been to any of the Roycroft stuff in Buffalo, which is another architectural design sort of storyline that's not Frank Lloyd Wright. So I might head over to that. And that might be Rennie McIntosh or one of those sort of people. You'll see, actually, I made that quilt behind us. And then I bought that one as a vintage quilt that a friend of mine's mother was selling some of her family quilts. And that one's from the 1930s or 40s. I have a matching one and it stays on my bed because I get colder than and then this one is, I bought this at a local quilt store called So Many Things. It's cute. It's where the boys are. So it's run by a couple of men. And that quilt was like a sample for one of their kits that they did. So I bought it when it was on sale. I love a good quilt on sale. And so it hangs in my dining room because you can see it kind of matches the colors in my dining room. And let's see, a boat trip at the bottom of the falls. Nice. Let's see, Tuesdays, most of the waterfront is closed, Share Bear. Well, that's good because I'm really busy on Tuesday. I probably would go back and do that on Friday, the 20th. And There is a really great Frank Lloyd Wright designed boathouse for rowing for crew people that's there on the water. It was originally designed for Wisconsin, and now it's it was built later in Buffalo many years later. And there is actually at the Pace Aero Museum, Pace Aero, yeah, there it's a car museum. There's a Frank Lloyd Wright service station. I'm eating snow caps. My very favorite movie candy ever on the planet. I love it. I think when I was a kid, we went to the movies occasionally, very occasionally, because we didn't have a lot of money. My parents did better for themselves as life went on, and they each went to community college. They each while we were growing up, they each got associate degrees and then further, and they did quite well for themselves. But when I was a younger kid, up until even end of high school, they were very much paycheck to paycheck and didn't have a lot of money. And I love that. I'm great with that. I think that's a fantastic way to grow up. Absolutely fantastic way to grow up. I don't think anything's wrong with it. But we go to the movies a lot. So when we did get to go to the movies, it was like we got a candy each. And I didn't want candy that my brother would try to steal. So I think that's why I loved snow caps, because he thought they were stupid and I could make sure no one tried to steal any of my candy. So that's the way it goes. All right. So this is going to be the end of this Q&A. Jennifer, you have a quilt your grandmother made in the late 20s, and some of your mom's baby clothes fabric is in it. Isn't that totally cool? To me, that's actually way more valuable than big, gorgeous, beautiful, pretty quilts. In fact, I don't really love super intricate, pretty quilts because I'm always worried that they're going to get messed up. So I prefer things that are clearly something I could make, and also something that, just somebody made because they needed a quilt and they wanted it to be pretty. I think that's always fascinating. So I love vintage quilts. In fact, I did a video about vintage quilts on my channel a year or two ago. So check that out if you were looking for that. So next week I'll have I think next week I'm actually doing a video about a place that I visited in Wisconsin. It's called Epic, which is a huge company in Verona, Wisconsin, just outside of Madison. And they're in the healthcare field. They do amazing software work for hospitals, big, huge systems that run hospitals. And it's an enormous place. I went and visited, and I had 4 hours, and I got through a third of the entire campus and all the stuff they have there. And they allow people to come do tours. So I'm going to do a video about that. It's going to be a little cheeky because I think the title is going to be I visited Epic. No, not the theme park, because there's a new theme park in Orlando now called Epic Universe. So I'm going to do that. Kathy, you have 2 boxes of lightweight handkerchiefs. I don't know, how big are the handkerchiefs? They're 20 by 20 or something. I love the idea of making pillows out of that kind of thing, where you can really highlight the handkerchief. But are they just white light handkerchiefs? Or are they colored handkerchiefs? I don't know. It would depend what you want to do with them. I mean, there's lots of options. I tend to think if you want those to last a long time, then we do something that maybe isn't so utilitarian. So not a thing people would carry in their pocket or their purse, or, have around. I love to turn placemats and other stuff into bags. I do that all the time. But certainly with something like that, you got to think, do I want to make this a little more foo-foo-y so it doesn't get really messed up? Who knows? So we'll see. It looks lovely outside right now. But it's very rainy. So it's going to be a rainy day here in Florida. We'll see how that goes, how it affects things. All right, folks, it was so nice to see you on this Q&A. I talked about a lot of stuff, a lot of crazy stuff. It was fun. So let's see. Kathy says the Factory Craft Warehouse store in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. Hirschner's is a fun place. Awesome. Let's see what else did I miss. Debbie says you're visiting your mom in Avon Park. I've heard of Avon Park. I don't live around Avon Park. That might be Orlando area. Is that? Let's see. Avon Park. Oh no, it's down below Orlando and Lakeland and Winter Haven. No, I live 80 something miles away from there. It's a 2-hour drive to Avon Park. I know nothing about Avon Park. I don't know any quilter. I don't go to Avon Park very often. I don't tend not to go. I've been to Lakeland. I love Lakeland. There's, of course, Frank Lloyd Wright buildings there. Let's see. Mizette says, I'd love to learn how to make park bench and table covers. What do you think? To cover a park bench. You mean like to cover it when it's rainy so it doesn't get all wet and you're just going to take it off, or you want to cover it so people can sit on it still? I made chair covers. I made some for my outside my house, and I am going to be making some covers for my couches because my cat has been destroying the back of these couches. So I'm making some covers to go on those. Anyway, so I don't know. So definitely message me or here, or you can leave a note in a video. I look at all the comments. I don't comment on all the comments because many of them are beautiful and helpful and lovely. Some of them I just delete because they're rude people. I hope that's none of you. I don't think it is any of you. But sometimes I get comments on videos that say, why did you even bother doing that? That's stupid. Well, I'm deleting that comment. No one needs to hear that. And let's see. So you can always comment on any video here or on another video, and I'll see it. My app on my phone for YouTube lets me see every comment that's made. And I do look at all of them. I don't internalize most of them because sometimes people are rude. And sometimes people just ask really super impertinent, personal questions. And it's like, and I don't answer those either. I love to answer questions about sewing. And then sometimes this is my favorite, and I'm almost done, I promise. People will ask me a question on a video from 3 years ago or 2 years ago. And they'll say, well, what measurement should I use for this? And I'm like, I barely remember that video. And I don't want to go back and watch a 30-minute video to figure out something that they could have figured out watching the video. So there are sometimes I can't answer those because I just don't know what they're asking me. Let's see. To sit on them and chill. Thank you for correcting that. It annoys me when I do that, like when I use the wrong word, but I meant the other word. And of course, sometimes YouTube just changes your words for you. Yeah, to sit on them and chill. On park benches, I don't know. It would depend on the park bench, really. Table covers, that's maybe easier to do. It just depends. Are we doing outdoor tables, like park bench tables? So that really would answer a lot of questions. Anyway, thank you so much, Share Bear, for saying my videos are fun and helpful. I try to be. I kind of don't have a grand plan for this channel. I just kind of make cool stuff and think of something fun to do. It's helped that I moved my sewing corner into my office rather than leaving it at my workshop where everybody else works every day. And I used to have to balance when I would go there because I didn't want to interrupt them. So now that I've kind of created a little messy corner in my office, and it is quite messy. If you watch my last couple videos, the whole area around me is messy. I need to go through and organize better and try to make a prettier backdrop. But frankly, you're kind of looking inside my head. So that's how it goes. All right, folks. I hope everyone has a lovely day and you not only stay crafty, but you take care of yourself and each other. And as my dear friend who I never got to meet, Nancy Zima, would say, bye for now. All right. I always forget which buttons turn this off. Oh yeah, here we are.